Okay, just as a preface, I broke a lot of my settings this week when I rewired stuff. I fixed it. Anyway. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Boosters and Spacetape, the podcast about Kerbal Space Program, real space, and other cool and sciencey stuff. Welcome back. It's time for episode 3. We hope everyone out there is doing well and holding up as well as you can given the state of everything going on right now. With me, as usual, are my friends, DigitalPsychosis.
Hello.
TheReadPanda.
Gazebo. What?
We're off to a fabulous start already.
What? People like gazebo.
Gazebo. And I think this guy is called the underscore.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
My friend,
Good old
Kinesis
underscore.
Gaming.
Yes, I turned up too.
So much energy.
Wow, what were you guys doing while I had you muted? Jeez, all this energy out of nowhere.
Hey, we're warming up. I decided to get my best Buffalo Bill impersonation out.
Oh, understand.
Puts the lotion on its skin or else it gets the hose again. Look, two can play at this voice game.
Well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
Very good subject.
See, I can take it to strange new levels and a level of not child friendly.
Oh, all right,
But
pal.
I'm
I
going
got you.
to avoid doing that.
With the huge
Yeah.
dollop of weirdness as well. It's got weird really quickly.
Did it though?
Used up? Not yet.
Oh.
And so it begins.
So it begins. Episode 3, everyone. Welcome back. We
Good
are
night, everyone. Oh wait, no.
Good night. Thanks for coming. But anyway, last episode, we ended saying we'd be back April 11th. Today's April 18th. We forgot it was Easter weekend on our original recording date, which was last weekend. So we made the executive decision. We pushed it a week. And I think we're doing that again for next month. I'll check the calendar as we go along, but just as a heads
Yeah.
up.
We are.
What's happening next month?
Look,
Yeah, what's going on next month?
I don't remember, but I remember us coming to that decision. It's about May as well.
I think there was a
Oh.
launch or something.
Yeah,
We
but now
headed
that
to a
nobody can go to a
launch.
launch, I don't know.
Oh, it's my last week of class. That was it.
Oh, okay.
right, Okay.
Yeah, well,
Fine.
Well, anyway, it has been a month since we've done this, I think. Or was it 3 weeks or no, it was 4 weeks, wasn't it?
I could have sworn it was 3 years, not 4. I don't.
That sounds right.
Feels like it's been
could've-
forever. My point being.
I
Yeah.
could have sworn it was 7 inches, not 6.
Pardon?
Never mind.
Moving
It's-
on. It's been a
not
month.
even 9 a.m.
I've been up since 8 a.m. Hush. Anyway, it's been a month since we've done this, so you know what time it is. Yes, it's time for our personal progress over the last month. And where has the time gone? I've been stuck in this house for nigh on 3 weeks now.
Yeah,
3
considering
weeks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
3.
my state locked down about three and a half weeks ago, so.
considering
Mine
that the
locked
time's
down
gone
about a
pretty
week
quickly.
before you,
Yeah,
if I recall.
yeah, I think it was like a day or two after our last recording for you.
Yeah. Or maybe even before,
Yeah.
but I don't recall specifically. It's hard to remember. Everything's so blurred together at this point.
It really is. But anyway.
we've had all the schools shut down basically. So
Oh, boy.
I've had the kids at home, which has been challenging to say the least, because school and work and every bit of childcare that I can possibly do. One kid decided that they were sick. It was completely a voluntary decision. I'm holding it against her. She would wake up multiple times through the night, screaming. So that's
Clearly
look,
unacceptable.
It's not the choice I would have made, but look, I just can't help but respect her
Dedication.
for her wants and desires, and yeah, absolutely, the dedication to being truly evidently sick. The little shit. Sorry.
There's a
It doesn't work if you press it afterwards.
Yeah, it doesn't work if you press it after you've said the bad thing.
Digi. Watch your profanity.
Oh, I'm watching them. I'm watching them leak out of my mouth in slow motion.
There were a few minutes in already, and Digi's been awarded a NASA beep in the edit.
Here we
There
go.
we go. But yeah, in the last month, I mean, I'll go ahead and kick it off. I finally got into Borderlands 3 since they finally released it proper, so that's been fun. Yeah.
Borderlands 3, I still have it on Epic, but anyway.
You disgust me. I also got back to playing Kerbal in the last week and a half, so that's been fun.
Yay.
Yeah. Kerbal. The Mohole ate 3 of my crew and the Rocket like 4 or 5 quick saves in a row. So
Nice. Did you continue from a previous save, or did you start again?
it was just my previous testing save, so that was it.
By testing, do you mean you've been using unlimited fuel? Because I can't get to Moho.
No, it's easy. Just build a rocket and go.
Just point at the sun and fly. Just burn.
It's the
That's how
only
it
one.
works.
It's the only body that I have never actually been to. I've been to every other one without using unlimited fuel, and I haven't been to Moho because I'm terrible.
Did you?
Yeah, but
We need to talk.
yeah.
We clearly do.
I was going to say, I went to every single object in KSP with at least one craft while I was doing KSP TV.
Woo! Now we're taking it back.
Everything's doable. Everything's doable. I'm just not a very good rocket engineer, and I just make science fiction ships. So,
Well, that's fine.
Hey, I can
You know.
respect that.
yeah.
I mean, I can't make a plane to save my life, let alone, well, I can make a plane, I just can't land them. So, which is why space planes give me such a hard time.
Well, it's parachutes. There's always parachutes.
Yeah, that's what I do. I put parachutes in my planes.
The Kerbals have parachutes now. So every time you
Yeah,
launch a
it's like-
plane, you can just bail all the Kerbals out and just let the plane die.
Yeah, but you don't get much science that way.
We'll transmit it before.
I got asked, have you returned from Eve? Yes, I have. Once.
Oh, the
See,
E.
I can get
Once,
there. I didn't do the returns.
It was by the skin of my teeth. It was actually pushing the pod with the mono fuel in the Kerbal's backpack.
And you haven't gone to Moho? Come on.
I haven't gone to Moho. I've tried.
returned from
I've
Eve.
tried, but I have returned from Eve once.
Well,
wow,
I
you still
think he
got it
wins.
up on me on that one. I never did that. I tried a couple of times.
It was awful. It was the
I did
worst
land on
thing
Jewel
that I've
once.
done. You've landed on Jewel.
Well,
I went
I
to-
made it to
That's clever.
negative
That's impressive.
altitude. Does that count?
Wow. What'd you do? Shoot straight through it? Was your Kerbal
no.
launched on a railgun?
No. I was gliding down actually. I used the 10 meter that was when the 10 meter
Heat shield.
doohickey heat shield was new,
Oh wow. Yeah,
And-
yeah.
and I used that plus aero brakes and such, and the atmosphere was so thick that once I got out of the overheating section, I just really drifted down until I actually got the altitude number to go negative. The heat had gone away, the altitude meter went negative, and then just suddenly out of nowhere the craft exploded.
Yeah.
There was absolutely no warning. It's just like, okay, boom.
Wow.
I think I managed to fall through the texture before.
Yeah.
I got to see the ins.
Yeah, I mean, I was well within the atmosphere when that happened. You know,
What color was it? Or are we going
Green.
to get onto that later?
We'll get onto that later.
Could you taste the colors?
right? Taste the rainbow, right?
Exactly.
I streamed going
taste
to
the
Eve from
rainbow.
back once, and it was one of the most angriest points of my entire life, actually.
Oh,
I did make it.
even back is just awful. Anyway, Matoro, please, by all means, continue your preamble. We'll continue interrupting you appropriately.
Yeah.
So outside of Kerbal, also in the last week, I started playing for the first time ever Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing.
Yep.
It's,
Okay,
I've been
cool.
sucked into it. Help.
I'm sorry.
Help. It's taking me. It won't let go.
You know what? I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. You know.
Yeah.
it's-
I think I'm pleased I don't know what this is.
Yeah, I don't own a Switch, so I'm safe.
You're
So,
lucky.
yeah.
You're lucky.
So, Aki, you know how
Here we go.
people make the comparison that Stardew Valley is like Harvest Moon.
Let's say yes.
Okay.
I've been out of it for 2 years.
Okay.
I do know Stardew Valley. I do know.
Stardew
Yes.
Valley?
Yes.
All right.
yes.
Stardew Valley is about 70% Harvest Moon and 30% Animal Crossing.
Okay.
So there's a lot of things in Stardew Valley that are very similar to Animal Crossing. So
Does that take into account the constant new things he keeps adding to it?
it's Animal Crossing and it's owned by Nintendo, so there will be continuous things added to it no matter what. Yes.
I mean, I think he's adding banana trees to Stardew now.
Oh,
Oh,
boy.
there's banana trees in Animal Crossing.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying there's. I'm just saying he's got yet more updates coming down the pike, and it's just like, really, wow.
I love the passion behind Stardew, and I love the passion behind Terraria, which, you know, as a side note, has their final update coming. Just as
Welcome
a
to
side,
Kerbal
side
Space
piece of
Program.
gaming,
Yeah, welcome to
Kerbal
Boosters and
Podcast.
Space Tape.
gaming news.
Gaming
So-
news.
It's my thing.
Moving
It's
off.
something I'm good at.
We'll save the Animal Crossing stuff for
You know
later.
Too much.
Yeah. Because Matoro, you've spent a lot of time on that, obviously.
A little bit.
Just a tiny bit, yeah.
Yeah, but outside of that, I haven't done much else. Classes moved online, so I've been in this chair about 15 hours a day, and when I'm not here, I'm in the bed over there. So that's me. So how have,
Nice full.
how have you been holding up, Red?
Well, other than slowly losing my mind, which I guess is better than fast losing my mind.
Hey.
Just stick around this podcast for another hour or so and see how you go.
I mean,
See what that statement's like at the end.
let's see.
At that
I
moment, he
did-
bared his teeth.
I did. I've been playing things like Planet Zoo, and I was playing. I've been playing the Jurassic Park one.
How is that?
the-
I'm curious.
What
Jurassic World. That it is-
Evolution?
it is- yeah, Evolution.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a park simulator. It's kind of cool.
it's really good.
And I played some Autonauts, which is like Factorio if you had to wind up all of your belts every 5 seconds.
Pardon?
Sounds really inconvenient.
Yeah. Basically, you have to program bots to wind up your bots because
I'll stick to
your
Factorio.
bots don't run forever. So you have to program your bots to go and charge your bots.
Is it
Which-
like a steampunk styling?
You make them out of trees and acorns. So,
What, robots?
Oh, so
I-
not,
Out of
not
trees.
steampunk.
Of course you do.
It's trees.
it's trees. It's trees and acorns and things like that. I mean, it's interesting, but it's I'm done.
It's like,
I'm
sounds like
done.
Transport Fever 2, where you chop down wood to make metal tools.
Yes. And stone and that. But it was an interesting game, and I think it has potential. I've been told there are mods that remove the requirement to constantly charge things.
Oh, that's nice.
Yesterday, I was going to finally sit down and put together my mod pack for starting KSP on Tuesday, and Comcast decided that they were going to be the worst internet service provider on the face of the planet again. And I spent 4 hours with their technical support, and I could tell you stories that would make your toes curl. My favorite part was when I spent an hour online talking to someone in chat, doing all the things that I already had done just because they wouldn't believe me, and then letting them reboot things and stuff. And they gave me a ticket number and a phone number and said, call this. And because you've got a ticket number, they'll get you right to the tech. And as soon as I called the phone number, they said, we see you're having problems with your cable modem. Please stand by. Are you ready for us to reboot it? It will take 15 minutes. I'm like, I've already done this twice. Please I tried everything to get past it. And they were holding me hostage and gatekeeping me until I let them reboot my cable modem for a fourth time. It's like, oh, yes, this is good. And then I got to someone, and halfway through a conversation, apparently they decided I was too much trouble and they transferred me to account activations.
Yeah,
You've
but
always had
Fred,
problems with them. Ever since we
Yes.
started recording together, you've had problems with them.
And I was going to stop using them as soon as I moved in June, but I can't move in June now because, you can't go anywhere, and the company in the area can't even come out and install right now. So,
But Red, did you restart your cable modem?
yes, quite a few times.
It's okay. It's okay.
And now I'm going to,
Look, I did internet technical support for 4 years, and every single time I call an ISP, I have to say to them very, very clearly, I did tech support for years. I know what I'm doing.
I did a decade of. I knew more than the people I was talking to. By the end, she actually admitted, "Oh, you know a lot more than I do." I was like, "Yes, so please just do what I'm asking you to do. Just do it." I know, and it turned out. You want to know what the problem was? There was a regional outage because someone was working on it, but no one would tell me that. And I was like, "You've got to be kidding me!" Oh yeah, it'll be done in about an hour and a half. It took them 3 hours, by the way. I got them to put me on the list of people texted as they finished.
Ladies and gentlemen, the internet.
Yes. So I don't have my mod list yet. I was hoping to have a mod list so that Aki could make another song, but but I don't have that now. So at some point by next time I will hopefully have some hours into my career. I haven't decided if I want to do which group of mods I want to use, because there are a lot of really good mods out there. I do want something with life support and things like that, but we can talk more about it when we talk about KSP2. We've got that coming up in the thing, but
well, hopefully this is what the podcast is about.
KSP2 coming soon.
Yeah, well, who knows how soon? A lot of games are being delayed now,
right?
Because of studios being shuttered and working from home and things like that. So my current plan is to do KSP, and I tried to Outer Worlds. I really wanted to love Outer Worlds. Boy, did I want to love Outer Worlds. But I like doing non-lethal playthroughs, and I got to a point where basically it was impossible to not slaughter the human marauders. I literally got to a point where either I was going to have to just run through screaming like an idiot through an army and hope that I didn't die, or I was going to have to kill them all. Just to talk to one guy, mind you. I bet if in real life, could have gone up to them and said, see all these big guns? See this small army of people behind me? See the fact that I could wipe all of you out in about 5 seconds? How about you just let me talk to that guy over there and then I'll leave? Because that's all I want to do is talk to the guy back there. But no, you have to kill us all. You gotta be kidding me. I mean, it's like
come to murderize you. I'm going to murderize all of you. I do not want to do this.
I mean, it's like Skyrim when you're wearing full Dragonbone armor and you've killed Alduin and you're riding an undead horse and some like level 2 raiders run up and say, come back here, and they're waving their clubs. It's like, are you kidding me?
It's like one of the guards walking up to you and going, hi, you've been spotted for stealing and we're going to send you to jail.
It's
Meanwhile,
like-
you're sucking up the soul of a dragon.
Dragon, yes, exactly. It's like, I think that the context has been lost on you. So anyway, it's just I don't know how far I got into the game. I felt like I got about a third of the way through the game before I got to that point, and I just, it could have been so much better. And I mean, it was a good storyline for what I could see, and I thought it had a lot of potential. But I just hate games that make you treat humans like killer robots and marauding rabid dogs. I mean, there's no, I didn't mind killing like giant killer lizards that spit acid at me. That's not so bad. And I certainly didn't mind hostily disassembling, in big quotation marks, the robots that were trying to kill me. But I just have a, you're talking to someone who has hundreds and hundreds, over 500, I don't even remember, like 900 hours in Fallout 4. But somewhere along the line, I just got to the point where I had a hard time playing a game where I had to commit genocide on humanoids. And I don't know where that point came. It didn't come all at once, but that's where I am right now.
There is part of my Star Trek brain that is sitting there screaming at me, "Oh God, android rights, android rights."
Well, they clearly were non-sentient robots, for whatever that's worth.
Yeah, all right, sentience, different story.
Yeah, they were not sentient. They were just giant.
It's okay to kill them if they're dumb.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
That's fine.
Oh, that's funny.
But I mean,
funny. I wish it were true.
The epitome of what I'm talking about that bothers me is there's a quest in Fallout 4 where you're trying to support what's supposed to be a settlement, right? And you go there, and at the time you go there are two people there. And they say, someone's been kidnapped. We'll join you if you go and rescue them and kill off the raiders there. And you go there, and there's about 50 to 60 raiders there. Now, let me get this straight. In order for you two people at this farm to join me, I have to kill 60 people.
You go first. We're right behind you.
So, and then you come back and they said, well, we finally decided that we probably will go with you. No, I killed 60 people for you. If you don't go with me, you join them. Did you think you had a choice after you had me kill 60 people? You had me commit mass homicide in order to make you happy. Do you honestly think if you turned me down at this point, you would survive?
This is the blood pact.
Just who do you think you're talking to?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, and those are the good guys. Those are the good guys.
Oh my god.
That's supposedly the Paragon route of having you kill 60 guys, basically, to save one to get a settlement of two people to join you. It's like, oh yeah, that's obviously the high karma route there. That's what we need to do. So long story short, I've been playing fun little like park simulator games and things like that, and logic games, and I'm still doing my puzzle games on Saturday, and right now I'm doing Factorio Bob's Run on Sunday mornings when my internet works and I'm not sick.
And you're not killing things.
Yeah, I try not to kill things, so but it's just so coming up new KSP and something else which I haven't quite wrapped my brain around because every day seems to take about 5 years to get through right now. So I assume many other people are experiencing the same stuff. Yeah.
ISO's fun.
So anyway, that's
Matoro,
what I've been up to.
You've kind of faded into the background there, Matoro.
I've just been listening.
You want me to cover off what I've been doing? Shall I lead things off then?
Oh, we're just gonna skip
so.
over. Oh wait, no, you're next. That's right. Go ahead.
Okay, good, cool. I've been doing two things. I will keep it very, very brief so that we get to the Kerbal. I currently have a Minecraft server that I have started up with a community group The mission itself is to get to the end of the world. 3 million blocks from spawn. We are building a base every 10,000 blocks. It is a journey to the end of the world. 300 bases all up. Every single one has to be different.
Where are you storing this world?
Can I come?
It is.
No, you kill too many things, Red. You'll
No,
kill everyone.
I'm the guy who doesn't kill things. I'm the guy who doesn't kill things. That was the whole point of the story.
You just said you killed 60 raiders for 2 people, and then you killed them.
No, I said that.
Because they were ungrateful.
Twist everything. You twist everything.
It is on a remotely hosted server, so
That's
nice
gonna
and
get
easy.
big quick.
It's a what hosted server?
Remotely hosted. Yeah, it's through a server hosting company, and yeah, so far we're 290,000 blocks from spawn. So
Oh, good progress.
yeah, I mean it's taken basically a month and a half to do.
Okay.
But yeah, pretty epic stuff. And the other thing was Final Fantasy VII Remake, which was 40 hours of my life that I'm very, very, very happy that I had. No spoilers, but you know it ties everything together beautifully, and I don't think they could have done a better job remaking the absolute classic that was Final Fantasy VII. I'm a big fan of Final Fantasy games. 7 is not the best by any stretch of the imagination, but it is the most expanded upon, and it has one of the most special places in my heart because it started me on JRPGs. So seeing them...
When you say no spoiler, does it have a different storyline than the original?
Yes and no.
Okay.
That's
Seems like
perfect.
a bit of ambiguity.
It's the same basic story, but instead of it being extremely surface level, which is basically how it was, because, you know, they were breaking into 3D and they were putting it on the PlayStation, and the dev team was under a lot of pressure, so the writing wasn't great. However, they've fixed a lot of the plot holes, added a whole lot of new stuff, and they've properly linked it up to all of the other expanded content that they had.
Did they finally explain why I couldn't use the Phoenix down?
There's a problem with a Phoenix down? What
In
problem
the
was-
one case where I really wanted to use the Phoenix down?
I don't know what that case was. What was that case?
Seriously? The one person who dies that you're not allowed to
Yeah,
bring
I know. But I just don't... Well, okay, you know what? Fine. Spoilers. Fucking spoilers. Right?
Spoiler
There he goes
One,
again. There he goes
one.
with
Hey, guess what? It shouldn't be counted a spoiler when it was new 25 years ago.
No. This is a spoiler. This is a spoiler. One, we don't get that scene just yet.
Oh, why not?
It's split into two
thought-
parts, right?
Oh,
this is part one.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I didn't
this
know that. I'm
stops.
sorry.
This stops when you leave Midgar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
So
that's like only like the first quarter of the game, if that.
Oh no, they packed a lot into it. It's basically 40 hours worth of game.
Yeah, but I mean, in the original game, when you leave Midgar's, like, there's a lot left to the game when you leave Midgar in the original.
Well, there is speculation that there might actually be a third.
Okay.
You know, it might turn into a Hobbit situation where they planned to do 2 movies and instead did 3.
Okay.
You know, so there's that. But the other spoiler as well is that that particular character isn't quite as prevalent as certain other characters.
Oh,
One of which likes to punch things,
yes.
and the other who basically she was in it towards the start and then got killed off originally.
Wait.
It's certainly a hell of a lot more prevalent in this.
Well, now you've confused me.
So,
While
who
trying
do
to
you-
dance around it, you've confused me.
Aki,
who do
are
you
they
start
speaking in
with?
tongues to you too?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
You
I'm
start-
not alone.
you start
I'm starting to feel awkward.
Start with Tifa.
We're
and
just gonna
the guy
scoot
with-
over here.
No,
Oh, wait. Just gonna scoot
you
over
start
here.
with Barrett and the rest of the members of Avalanche.
Wasn't Tifa an Avalanche?
Not initially.
I thought she
not the
was.
opening scene. Opening scene. There are four.
Well, not in the
four
opening
people apart
scene.
from Cloud.
Yeah, but you.
A certain character by the name of Jessie.
Oh, I forgot about her.
All right.
She was so unimportant in the original one. I forgot.
Oh, she's very important now, and it's amazing.
Stuck.
I'm stuck too. Well, I guess I'm over here now.
But there you go. It is absolutely amazing. If you are a fan of JRPGs, if you are a fan of action adventure titles, if you are a fan of anything Final Fantasy, do it. Do it. It's really, really, really good.
Well, as soon as it's out on PCs, I'll do it because I'm not buying
it. It won't
it.
be out on PC. It won't be out on PC. Not for a long time. Not for a long time. Unless
I thought they literally said in about a year.
Look, I don't think it will, but it's a PlayStation exclusive for the time being. So
yeah, no, but well, we'll see what happens. I mean, because I'm not going to go buy a PlayStation just to play it. You know.
Yeah, it's fair enough. It's fair enough.
It's,
well, if you've got access to it, then play it.
Yeah.
It's bloody good.
I mean, you're talking about someone who loves JRPGs. I mean, I even play the Altair games, which are phenomenal and available for PC for the most part. So if you don't know them, give them a try. They're on Steam. It's cartoony-ish JRPG stuff that is fun. Yeah.
There you go.
So
It does sound fun.
Anyway, that's all I got.
But you know what else is fun?
What's
Kerbal
fun?
Space Program.
It is. Hey, isn't there a rocket in Final Fantasy VII? Or is that 8?
Yes,
No, it's 7. There is a rocket.
Yes, Sid's rocket, and that's not until after you leave Midgar.
Well after you leave Midgar.
Oh yeah.
No, that's way down the line. But there's a rocket.
There is a rocket. There is. And Palmer is a real jerkbag, and yes, he's still as creepy in this one as
and Matoro's like, let it stop. Let it stop.
Anyway,
This is very reminiscent of the Star Wars Star Trek thing from the last version of BSD.
it's like Matoro.
Yeah, but see, none of us are saying it's bad. We're just
out of my ears right now.
But see, neither of us are saying like one is better than the other. There's no like argument. We're just like, oh, cool. Well, what about this? It's just two guys nerding out about it.
Oh my god! Oh my god! I can tell you so much.
No.
But yeah, there we go.
So.
Do we want a Kerbal now? Do we want to talk Kerbal?
Well,
haven't
we
even
still
got
have
past the intro yet.
we still got
we're still in the
Aki.
intro, aren't we?
Still got Aki.
No, we haven't.
Yes, we do.
We
Rise
lost
from
Aki,
the
oh my
dead,
God.
Aki. Rise.
Rise
Right.
from your
Oh, wait.
grave.
No, we lost Aki.
I feel like one of those Raiders, Red.
Oh no!
Well, Red hasn't killed you yet, so
No, I've just bored him to
Not on
death.
the outside.
I've just bored him to death. I don't know.
So
No. It's fine. I just thought this was a specific podcast. How wrong was I?
how wrong were we? But anyway, all that's well and good. I think it's time to let Aki talk about what he's been up to.
We should get rid of this "what we're up to" part. I think.
Well, so far I've got 42 minutes of audio to chop out. So
That's what he's up to.
most
editing.
of it's me talking.
Hey,
That's fine.
you can take out like 6 minutes for the intro, all right? It's only 38 minutes. 37. 35? I don't know. I don't math. Go on.
Well, I've been having computer trouble. My computer died several times, and I revived it several times. Turns out it was a BIOS issue, so that was that. Oh, well, hopefully it is, because if this suddenly craps out, then it wasn't the BIOS issue, it was something else.
Okay, if he
Oh,
disappears, I'm not fixing the video.
You said you got your 3-frame done.
I've got the assets. I didn't build it yet.
I did carry on. I carried on with KSP career mode. Just to talk about some KSP, I suppose, for a little bit. What did I do?
Unbelievable. This is
lots of
what I agreed
airplanes.
to.
What KSP?
Yeah, I thought this was an Animal Crossing podcast.
Well, Final Fantasy, probably apparently. Yeah, carry on with KSP career mode. Lots of airplanes. I really don't like. There's a lot of mods I'm waiting to update, but I really don't like the career progression in Kerbal Space Program.
Oh, it's garbage.
I forgot about that, and it really annoyed me. So I had to cheat a load of science points in just to unlock the parts, so that the Kerbals can actually fly an airplane before they go to the moon.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the mods that fix that have been updated.
No.
So, but I've been doing lots of airplane stuff, fixing computers, and lots of editing. Lots and lots of editing, and some Elite Dangerous. Oh, Galactic Civilizations 3.
Ooh.
Wow, that's a time sink. That is a serious time sink. And of course, I have to make all of my spaceships look like Star Trek ships. I have to. I don't know why. I can't escape.
Yeah,
from that.
I started a game of Stellaris yesterday. I feel your pain.
Yeah, well, I'm curious to play
I can play
Stellaris.
that
'cause
too.
I've got that on your recommendation, but I haven't started it yet. And going back to KSP pretty soon, I think. That's what I've been up to, and I'll stop it
Sounds
there.
like we should all have more to say about KSP actually playing next time.
Hey,
Well,
I've at least played it.
I did. I do have lots more to say, but 40 odd minutes into the intros, so
There is a voice inside Aki right now just screaming.
there's lots of voices.
Do they sound like this?
All of them.
Or like this.
Or like this.
I don't have a voice changer, but it's a bit more like what the going on right now.
What happened?
What the?
Why
I was
doing this to me? Why? Why won't you stop talking?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
So, all this talk about Kerbal Space Program. Time for Kerbal Space Program 1 news.
Yay!
That was awkward to say. We're just going to call it Kerbal Space Program news.
Okay, done.
Yes. That's how we're doing it from
Sounds
now on.
Sounds
It's good to be specific.
Specificity. That is a really bad word to say.
Specificity.
Thank you.
And
Thank
I have a
you.
lisp.
Specificity. There we go.
There we go.
You got to say it with a little bit of a regal tone. Yeah.
Well, funny old thing, there's not much to talk about actually, KSP 1 or 2, because there's not been much happening
Oh,
of
I
late.
don't know. I don't know.
I've dragged out some things. Do you know what, actually, Digi, because you mentioned it earlier, do you want to go with the new Dual upgrade?
Yeah, Jules been updated to actually have a whole new color scheme. It's now orange.
Yeah, the high def texture revamp.
Yeah,
Jewel
they've
is
been
being
applying a
orange.
whole lot of high def textures, all of that, and they've decided the Jewel is going to be a whole lot better with its unnecessary upgrade of orange.
Orange Dual.
See,
Makes
I
it more
don't
realistic.
like that. What?
It was an April Fool's
It was
joke.
an April Fool's joke, but so many.
They pulled the wool over our eyes rather well, and it's like, well, now I think I want an orange Jewel.
Yeah, but
I'm
I looked
sure
at it and I
someone can
thought,
mod it
"Ooh."
in.
And then I looked at the date that it was posted and I was like, oh,
All jokes aside, the texture itself is gorgeous.
it
Yeah,
is
it
good
looks nice.
texture. A lot of people were really disappointed to find out it was an April Fool's joke. And so many people were like, well, Jules green. Jules always been green. Jules green for me.
Everyone's cracking it. and
Pluto's
just,
the planet to
no,
me."
This is not what I agreed to.
Yeah, what are you doing, squad? Which was good. It
It
did
got people interested.
Yeah, it caught a lot of people's attention. So
Which is
bravo,
good.
squad. It's April Fool's. Jewel, whether it's getting a high def texture or not, I don't know. Probably will do. But it's certainly not going to be orange. But it did look good. It did look really good.
Oh yeah, I can just see it in green now. So
That's nothing's moved from squad in terms of KSP. That since our last recording, that's really the only thing that got posted was the April Fool's joke on Jewel. So I thought, as promised, in the last episode, that I'd cover some of the previous expansions or updates. Sorry, not the expansions. I will do the expansions. But 1.8 more boosters. I thought I'd just go over just so we got some KSP 1 content.
to clarify,
what
we're
was
on
changed?
1.9 now.
1.9.
No, we're on- yeah,
Yeah.
there we go. Thank you, Aki.
Yeah.
Okay, look,
So-
details.
Last episode
Well,
I
if you're
covered
gonna say 1.9, you might
1.9.
as well put in 1.9.1. If you've
So I
already
thought-
gone to the trouble.
a previous upgrade of that is 1.8. I thought I'd just cover off on what changed there. And the reason we're getting these high definition textures coming up now is because Unity was upgraded to 2019.2, which allowed performance and graphics improvements, better rendering performance, and reduction of frame rate stutters.
Hell yes.
Which it did. It really did. I think it was Shadow Zone did a YouTube video, the comparison between 1.8 and 1.7 on how much better or less stuttery KSP is. And it really did upgrade nicely. And because of those graphical improvements, we are now getting the high definition textures. And the first celestial body improvements were the moon, whatever you want to call it.
Didn't we have this discussion last time?
We did, but I'm still not accepting that it's the Mun. So the Mun, Minimus, Juna, Ike, and
Munmus.
Gilly.
Minmus! Yes!
Cue Digi's Minimus song.
Put that in the editing.
I can and probably will. Map mode improvements. I've got so many copies of that saved all over the place just to make sure I never lose it. Map mode improvements that now allows sort of docking mode and craft staging whilst in map mode, so you don't have to frantically switch between the two. This is a really good one. Action groups can now be checked and edited while in flight.
It's so good.
That feels so overdue as well.
Yeah, it's nice.
Service bays have been revamped to a more fitting appearance and better doors. So instead of the big doors just going wide open and clipping through everything, they now fold in on themselves as they open.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yep.
I haven't seen those.
Well, service bays.
Well-
4 new SR. Sorry.
Oh, I was just saying I haven't seen the stock textures because I use restock.
The stock textures were like a dark grey with orange doors.
Well,
something like
the
that.
stock models, I should say.
Yes, yeah. And the new ones are now white, more fitting with all the other rocket parts. 4 new SRBs, the Mite and the Shrimp at 0.625 meters, then the Thoroughbred and Clydesdale at 2.5 meters, and those larger ones also have thrust vectoring now. So you don't have to put fins on your SRBs if you're using it as a first stage, because the engine nozzles now move so you can steer, which is good. And if you own the Making History expansion, I see what they're doing here. If you own the Making History expansion, the owners of that expansion get the bonus Pollux 1.8 meter booster and matching nose cone, and have new part variants for the size 3 tanks to color them orange as per the space shuttle. So combined, so you got I think it's the Clydesdales solid rocket boosters. You attach them to the size 3 tanks, which can now color orange, and it makes it look like the space shuttle. If you own, which is delicious, and if you own the Breaking Ground expansion, owners get a new set of fan blades and shrouds for aircraft.
I've made use of those. Turns out you can make a little helicopter that can just self-hover on Eve until the sun goes down. I did that.
Okay, that's cute. That's pretty cute.
Yeah. that was
Through
fun.
solar panels?
Yep.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, because there's some that run off of the electric charge only. So.
Sure. Actually, going back to my KSP1 recent playthroughs, is I've just started unlocking all the new fan blade parts, and I've been experimenting with helicopters, which they do work. They can be a bit fiddly, but they do work a bit. Yeah, I do like that. If you do have the expansions, you're still getting privileges for owning them that run alongside the base game.
Yeah, that's a really cool thing to see.
It is, because you can look at it 2 ways. It's like, well, I want the Pollux. You can't have the Pollux unless you buy our expansion. But if you do have the expansion, you're still getting rewarded for having those expansions. I like that. Players can now add their own loading screen images in a folder.
Wait, what?
That wasn't. I came across that.
Pardon?
Awkward close up for Mater.
Excuse me?
Yeah, I came across that in the release, the update log, the release notes. That wasn't really advertised. But if you go to KSP folder, KSP/user loading screens, you can add your own images in there, which will then appear on the loading screen.
Huh.
Funny old thing.
Because I'd seen the newer loading screens they had added. I didn't know you could actually add your own in now.
Apparently
That's
so.
awesome.
That was in 1.8. And
Well-
they are the main highlights for 1.8.
I know
More
where my
boosters.
screenshots are going.
So that's it for KSP 1.
All right.
So the only thing that happened since last recording is the Jewel April Fool's joke. Don't worry, Jewel is not getting recolored to orange. Although if you haven't seen it, go and have a look because it actually looks really good.
Should we just call it the April Jules joke?
Oh, how long have you been waiting to say that?
Oh no, it just came to me. Literally just now.
Then.
Oh,
Just now.
Wow.
Oh, well.
Matoro, get out.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Wait,
just-
isn't he
bye.
hosting?
Don't leave. The recordings.
Oh no, we'll have to do new layouts.
You did this to yourself. Just kidding, I'm back.
Okay, good. KSP2 news?
KSP2 news. So I didn't read anything about this because I have been busy all week. Did you
Well,
read
again-
it? I just saw the link and threw it at you, so that was all I did.
No, yeah, thanks for your help.
You're welcome.
The,
It was thrown in my Discord last night,
Here's
and
a
I threw
link.
it
Do
your
something
way.
with it. Okay.
So
KSP.
colonies.
Developer Insights number 3. So the first one was about, in fact, the other two we haven't discussed specifically, but we have just discussed them anyway, as it turns out. The first one was the intro to everything that was going on. Developer Insights number 2 was a lot about the explosions, which we did cover off in the last episode, about the explosions being specific to not only, well, actually, we can talk about it for a second. Not only just the type of fuel that's exploding, or the type of part that's exploding, or whether it's in an atmosphere or a vacuum. Depending on those things, the explosions will be different. But also, it depends what it's exploding next to. So even there's a relationship between the different parts that are exploding together.
Oh.
Will cause more different explosions, and it can be sparks, it can be smoke, it can be fire. There seems to be a lot of different variations. It won't just be a typical explosion, and by the sounds of it, it'll be difficult to get the same explosion twice. There's a challenge. So that was all about, and also the engine nozzles as well. The exhaust plumes, I should say, are also different depending on the fuel, depending on the engine, depending on the atmosphere or lack of. So that was Developer Insights number 2, but I didn't talk about it because we did mention it last episode.
Hold on. Did you just that means basically real plume?
Yeah,
Yes, for the engine nozzles.
where the plume's very based on the fuel. Yep.
Okay, turning the mic
Yeah.
away. Woo!
Real Plume is now going to be stock, essentially. Real Plume's a mod that does exactly what I just said for KSP1, for those that might be unfamiliar.
It's gorgeous.
It is. It's a must-have mod, actually, for me. I always put it in. It's good. Colonies. So Developer Insights number 3, colonies. So colonies will not be, we kind of spoke about this and we pretty much guessed right as well for the things we did guess at or speculate.
Oh, really?
Colonies will not be micromanaged. They are to only aid rocket gameplay. So you can set up a colony and ignore it if you so wish. They're not essential to the gameplay. They emphasize that Kerbal Space Program is about rockets and space planes and destroying them. And if you want to, there's a colony to play with as well. But they are going to make, although the colonies certainly won't be a focus of gameplay, they are going to make it as interesting as possible so that people do want to go back to them and modify them and tweak them. But they did cover off the colony gameplay process, and the process pretty much is the player builds a rocket with inflatable colony modules and flies it to a location to establish a colony. the colony synthesizes fuel to refuel rockets. So I think one of the things we did speculate was that in order to do the interstellar travel to the other solar systems, you will need to get the specific fuels to do that from elsewhere in the solar system. I don't think you won't be able to get those fuels like the metallic hydrogen.
Mm-hmm.
You won't be able to get metallic hydrogen from Kerbin or Minmus. You have to go and get these colonies established in order to not just extract.
So Elu base confirmed.
Yes.
Yes. I mean,
Well, actually, by the sounds of it,
doing.
it wouldn't surprise. Do you know what? We all know how much of a headache Eve is, and so I'm going to guess the metallic hydrogen you're going to need to get from around the Joule system.
My guess is Tylo.
Yeah.
No, Joule makes more sense though, because that's where you would find metallic hydrogen in Jupiter around in our system.
In the
so
atmosphere, yeah.
Yeah. And I reckon. So the end game interstellar drive is the torch drive, which is to do with fusion reaction. Who wants to bet that the source of that is the lakes on Eve?
Oh, that would just be cruel. That'd just be so cruel.
I hope not.
Everyone rage quits before they even bought the game.
Like, nah, not doing it.
But yeah, so you have to go around the solar system to extract. And well, here you go. I'll just read what I've written, shall I?
Yeah.
The colony synthesizes fuel to refuel rockets. So you establish a colony, then you harvest the fuel and refine it into rocket fuel. Players fly missions to provide colonies the resources they need to become self-sufficient. And so they're already talking about Kerbals having or reproducing actually to maintain the colonies. So you can expand your colony from that location rather than having to keep flying more and more Kerbals there.
I somehow don't think that the last word that you've got written there is actually the word that you meant, but you know.
Which sentence?
We want players to build crazy orbital dry docks and mining colonies on stalactites.
Stalactites.
Yeah, I don't think it's stalactites somehow.
Yeah, because they come up from the ground, so they have to be mites, not tights.
Yeah,
Yes,
well, you know.
depends which way. But well, maybe that's a indication there's going to be cave systems. You don't know.
Stalactites, hold on tight.
Yes.
Whoa.
Whoa.
I never realized
The colony grows. Here you go. The colony grows.
Stalagmites might poke you in the ass. Thank you, Tenacious D.
And here I thought the big thing was remembering port is to the left because it's 4 letters.
I have played enough Sea of Thieves to have to explain that to everyone.
You're derailing the tiniest bit of
You're
KSP2 news that
You're
we
welcome.
have, and I'm trying to
Well,
bloat
if you
out.
hadn't written stalactites, it wouldn't be a problem.
That came from their website.
If they hadn't written stalactites, it wouldn't have been a problem. Blame the developers. The developers have now derailed the podcast.
Well, I'm going to go.
We'll have to talk to them about that.
I'm going to go to Boonix and what he said in chat. I just hope they'll master the optimization. KSP1 suffers too much in continuity.
Mm-hmm.
The optimization is their first focus.
Yep.
Too. Yeah, they're doing that from the start. So that's promising.
And it's fair to remember that KSP2 is being built basically from the ground up.
Yeah.
Like a game should be built and not stacked on top of each other like KSP1 was. It probably still is.
Probably still is. Yeah.
I mean, they
Are
can only
you
fix...
Playing Final Fantasy VII Remake.
No, no. What are you doing? Someone mute Digi.
Just
All I
gonna
know
make
is
the
I
point.
suspect this means the My Little Pony Kerbal mod for it probably won't work, but that's okay.
Why did you have to remind me that exists?
I didn't even know that existed. Now I need to look
We
it up.
talked
God
about
Not
it.
only does it exist, it's still getting updated.
And we
Why?
talked about it in the podcast before,
We
did
have.
you?
Yeah, but I have a memory like a sieve. As soon as the podcast is over, everything just melts away, you know.
Well, I guess that explains it then.
It's
Okay.
early AM on a Sunday, man. You know, you can't expect miracles.
All I know is we were going to try to bully Matoro into using it, and it never seemed to happen. So
Yeah, we did.
I have dignity.
you do?
You have viewers to please.
Kind of.
And keep.
Dance for your viewers. Dance.
Dance, monkey man, dance!
Okay.
So the colony grows to allow players to build and fly rockets. The colony does reproduce. You put hopefully male and female Kerbals together, and little Kerbals appear. Or Kerbals
Hey,
appear.
we don't know if they don't reproduce asexually. Well, I guess they do have genders, but still.
If we don't
Could
get
be
child
mitosis.
Kerbals, I'm gonna be very disappointed.
But no, you can't. And I'm going to tell you why right now. Because there's far too much death in KSP.
Yeah.
As it
Okay,
is.
that's fine. Yep. All right. They pop out of the ground fully grown. I will accept this.
Yes, they do. They just pop up just like that.
They're like plants.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
they're space orcs. Orcs come from mushrooms. Right?
So you grow Kerbals.
So
It's like
Matoro,
seeding your lawn.
Matoro now has a button. I have no idea what my buttons have, so I'm not going to push any.
Let's not do buttons.
But I like my button.
Editor doesn't.
No, I was just thinking that. I literally was thinking what a pain that's going to be to edit out. But hey, you know, I'm not the one editing.
Moving on.
Someone else should try it.
We'll just
You'll
pop
find yourself
right
to
on
be a
out of
much more
this.
disciplined podcaster if you do. The colony grows to allow players to build and fly rockets from these new locations, opening a host of new possibilities for missions. And they ended up, I'm going to say it anyway, we want players to build crazy orbital dry docks and mining colonies on stalactites. Or stalagmites.
I think they meant satellites, but you know, I won't hold it
Yeah.
against them.
Well, I don't know. I think that's a hint of what's coming, actually.
Do you?
Cave systems. Where do stalactites and mites form? Cave systems.
Yeah, but really, are we going to end up with an expanse situation where, you know, they've got a base on Ceres and that's only because it's a massive hole cut out the side of the damn asteroid?
I'd like to remind
Or
everyone
dwarf.
there is.
Hey, don't be getting into the area that's going to be covered Red Panda's History Corner.
I just want to remind everyone
Shutting up!
there is a cave in Kerbal 1. Thank you very much.
There is.
Yes.
The mohole?
No.
No. Isn't it on one of Jules' moons?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's the only
I
area
never
where there's
find
something
this.
underneath something.
I never found this. God damn it! And
Well,
I thought I'd done every Easter egg.
go
Nope.
to Tylo.
Apparently not.
It's on Tylo. Damn it.
Yep.
That's it. Digi's going to Tyler tomorrow.
I might go right now while we're podcasting.
No.
Last time I tried going, it was buried under the terrain, so good luck.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
well, that.
Hey, but it's a
always
cave.
found it
It's
bizarre
underground.
How the Easter eggs
It
break
doesn't
on
count.
updates.
If it's below the texture, it doesn't count.
Well, since they've been updating the textures in terrain, it might be back up top.
You don't know. I haven't been there in a long time.
Same.
Because June is the one that's populated with most Easter eggs, isn't it? And a lot of them keep disappearing.
Yeah,
On
they
the
fall,
updates.
fall behind the underneath the texture, which is
Yeah.
really annoying.
God, I wonder how many Easter eggs are going to be in KSP2.
I think the
Can you
moon has
all
the
of them?
most.
All of them.
Oh, it probably does actually.
The moon does have the most
Yeah.
by a long shot.
Either the
I wonder
moon
if they're
or
add any
Kerbin.
more. Do you think they're add any more? I wonder if they're add any more.
Oh, they will. They will, because you need things to do. It would be an incredibly boring game if you didn't.
And
have
they're going to
things
be
do.
adding entire systems. Of course they're going to add Easter eggs.
No, I'm talking about KSP1.
Oh, okay.
If they'll add any more in KSP1. No, KSP2.
I thought we
yeah,
were still on. I
absolutely.
thought we were still on
They haven't-
KSP2. Sorry.
No, I'm flitting.
They haven't added any to Kerbal Space Program 1 in donkey's years.
Well, there's one
So-
particular person, wasn't there, that kept on, that is responsible for adding them all.
Yeah, and I don't think they're around anymore.
No, they're not. They left quite early on, and I can't remember his name. Anyway,
Oh, Was it Nova Silisco?
No.
No.
Steve.
Steve.
Steve!
Bruce.
Alan!
Steve from accounting.
Alan!
Alan!
Well, we're talking about Steve. Should we move on to real space news?
Real space news. I like the sound of this. Because that's about all we got for Kerbal 2. Yeah.
Yeah, there's not much more going on for Kerbal 1 or 2.
And I imagine it's
so-
going to be quiet for a little while anyway, given the
Yeah.
state of everything, so...
Yeah.
We're going to do what we can.
Oh, actually, no. I'm gonna. Sorry, going back because I know that Digi was wondering about this.
And
I thought I added
rewind!
it into the notes, but I can't see it. Orbital colonies. I think it is in there somewhere. Yeah, crazy orbital dry dock. So Digi, you can have orbital colonies.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, which I think will develop into generation ships. I'm still quite certain that the initial, if Kerbals can breed, the initial interstellar travel will be generation ships. That's the only
straight
one.
out. Yeah.
That's the only
Talk
one they
about the
haven't.
amount of time warp you'll need though for that.
We'll need all of the time warping.
Crazy time warping.
It'll be amazing.
Yeah.
You know, just thinking about this right now, it's going to be so weird seeing a sphere of influence edge for the sun.
Yeah, because Kerbin's sphere of
Yeah.
influence. Well, I
That's
suppose you could
massive.
you could say that any sphere of influence is influence. But
I remember once I tried to get outside the sphere of influence of the sun and it broke the game.
Yep.
probably didn't it get
Wow.
catapulted at the speed of light or something silly like that. I suppose lots of different things can happen.
I honestly don't remember what happened other than it was having such a hard time calculating the trajectory that it was like,
Mm. Yeah, it will be. Yeah, so things have a sphere of influence. When there's one, and I wonder how many systems, other systems there will be. I think there'll be at least 2.
I think that's a fair guess.
There'll be more than one, I'm sure.
Because,
But I think
like I talked about last time with the stuff they showed at PAX East, there was at least 4 different looking planets or moons, I don't know what they were, that were shown in that little short bit, so...
Mm. And an obvious expansion that will follow the KSP 2 is more solar systems,
Mm-hmm.
yep.
for sure. And they did emphasize.
Infinize? What are they
Emphasize.
emphasizing?
I'm
What are they
forming new
emphasizing
words.
now?
They did emphasize in this insights number 3 that everything will continue to be open to mods. They want people to make mods for this game. They still
Well, that's only
recognize
smart on their
how
part.
important the modding community is. Yeah.
Because if you don't do them, I mean, that's part of the reason why Skyrim is still the game it is today, because you know the modding community keeps it alive. You know, that's so the better your modding community is, the longer your game's going to last, basically, in a lot of ways.
Well, I mean, in the dev story video that they released, who knows how long ago now, like they said, they're all massive fans of Kerbal, so they have to know the importance of modding to the game. So it only makes sense.
The community, how important the community is. They haven't come up with the name of the new company yet either, have they?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Seen anything
Or
about it?
studio. I don't know if I should call it a company, but the new studio.
Steve.
I mean, it's an in-house. Steve Developments Incorporated.
No, it's just Steve.
Oh, okay. all right.
Doesn't have
What if it's
anything
an
else.
acronym?
It's just Steve.
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 Steve. Steve.
Steve.
So, real space
Okay, I'm
news.
done. I can't kick the arse out of KSP2.
All right, so we're moving
I'm
on to
concerned
real
for next
space
time.
news. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an exciting time because just this week, NASA finally set the official date for Demo Mission 2. SpaceX's crewed launch to the space station. It will be taking place on May 27th this year,
I'm
2020.
pretty darn hyped about that.
Oh, yeah.
That'll be great.
I can't wait to see that launch.
Right. And for those living under a rock, it's going to be crewed by Doug Hurley and Bob Behnken, and it will be the first crewed flight from U.S. soil since the end of the space shuttle.
Yeah.
It's
That's just-
super
There's
exciting.
a lot of significant points about this, isn't there?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. And the best part of DM2, in my personal opinion, It's bringing back the worm logo. Let's go.
Well, see, I was with you until that. I don't really care. I just want to see the cool, awesome launches.
Worm logo. Let's
wanna,
go.
You want to know something truly, truly sad? I didn't realize it had gone.
To be honest, I don't even know what you're talking about.
It's the old font for the NASA logo, and when they say it's coming back, I'm like, wait, they stopped using that?
It looks like a worm.
You guys
It looks like a single thing because
I think we just bulldozed Mater's excitement here.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel really guilty. Like, you got a VR headset, and I'm like, but why? And he's all excited about they changed it. It's like, I'm like the the guy who ruins everything. I don't know.
No, that's normally Digi.
That's me.
You've turned a corner today, Red.
It's my job. It's in our discussion thing.
And
Yeah.
Oh, go on. You're about to say it,
Yeah.
Mater.
As Draconite just said in chat, it is the hey, come back, chat. It is the first ever private company putting in people into space.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
It's the
Into
first
orbit.
ever private company putting people into space for a government.
For the government, yeah. For the government.
Hey, doesn't matter who the contract is for. It's the first.
Well, there've been things that have gone into technicals. We had this big discussion about where does space start when I was talking about the first rockets, and there have been private industry things that have broken that line.
That's fair. Well, okay,
but
like I said,
but
into orbit.
Yeah.
70 kilometers, Emerald said.
That's where the music starts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's where the music starts. Correct.
Yep. 70 kilometers. That's when the music starts. Yep.
Yep. But anyway, yes.
Whale music.
One of my best jokes.
It's a good
I'm still
joke.
proud of that.
It's a good joke.
So yes, DM2 on May 27th. It's a very exciting time. The worm logo is coming back no matter how much these two are trying to kill my hype right now.
No, I like the worm logo. I don't want to. I'm not saying bad about the worm logo. It's just I didn't realize it was gone.
I need to do the worm logo.
That's the problem.
I'm pretty sure the last official craft it was on was one of the space shuttles.
Yeah,
in the 90s.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, well,
I'm sorry. I'm.
Well, anyway, if anybody wants to go see the Falcon 9 with the NASA worm logo painted on it, Jim Bridenstine tweeted a photo of it just, I believe it was earlier or late last week. So you'd have to scroll a little
the worm logo. Is that?
Oh, now you get it.
Well, Draconite Streams is posting comparisons in, so
I just posted it in our discussion.
Did
you?
Look,
Yeah, but
the
he
worm
didn't look
logo
there.
is classic.
Oh.
The meatball is just, I can appreciate the meatball, but the worm
I prefer
logo
the worm.
speaks.
I prefer the worm logo. I don't.
I appreciate the symbolism of the worm. I'm sorry, of the meatball, but the worm logo is just something so clean.
What the hell's a meatball?
That's the blue circle, Aki.
Just gripped worm. Now there's meatball.
Poor
This
Aki.
is too much for my brain to handle.
Final Fantasy VII and worm logos.
All right, before I hurt Aki's
Title
brain
of
too much.
podcast: Final Fantasy VII and worm logos.
All right, I'm changing the name of the script.
Oh, my brain.
Oh my god.
The immense pride I feel right now.
There, we have named
And
this
what
episode.
if there's a worm on the meatball?
So, moving on from that, this week also saw the return of Expedition 62 from the space station with Jessica Meir, Drew Morgan, and Oleg Skripochka. I think I said that right. Him.
That guy.
The Russian cosmonaut that I can't pronounce. Oleg. I know how to say Oleg. They returned home, landing in Kazakhstan on Thursday, April 16th. So, 2 days ago? 2 days ago.
Steve.
And also...
Just call him Steve. Anyone we don't know or can't pronounce or too afraid to try and pronounce, just call him Steve.
Steve, Dave, Bob.
All right, before we get to Aki's bit of space news, I'm going to wrap this up with the last thing I put on here, being this week was also the 50th anniversary of Apollo 13's infamous flight.
Yeah. I mean, that needs a whole discussion on its own, I think.
Yeah.
I didn't think it fit in the history. I mean, there've been entire movies about that and stuff.
Still one of my most favorite films ever.
Yeah, no, it's good, but it doesn't really fit in my niche history corner, you know?
Yeah, that's fair.
It is big.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
Well, it's a rocket, Aki. They're pretty big.
Yeah.
Motherfucker.
Throw in some worms and meatballs.
Yep.
Aki, just go to your bit. More space news from Akinesis Gaming, ladies and
certainly worm and meatball free. Oh, my days.
And Tom Hanks, too.
Tom Hanks.
Hey,
I love that film. I love that film.
I do love that film.
I'm really,
I
really
watch it
giving a lot of
periodically.
grief right now, but I love that film.
hey, Tom Hanks recovered from the virus too, so
He did. He did. He was well looked after in Queensland. He and
Yes, he was over here, wasn't
his
he?
lovely wife.
you Aussies took good care of him. Good work.
Yeah.
We appreciate that.
We weren't going to let him die.
National treasure.
We weren't going to do that.
We're
Actually,
not
international
that dumb.
treasure.
Apollo 13, the island, they didn't take him. This ain't taking him.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, I thought this was quite lovely. It's also a first, and I thought it was quite lovely. So, the first commercial satellite servicing has been declared a success after the Intelsat 901 communications satellite returned to work, providing internet connectivity. The satellite, which launched in 2001, had been running low on fuel. I hate the way I write sometimes. The way I write is not the way I speak.
I hate it too.
Is that why you never read anything
Exactly.
I've written? Yeah.
The satellite, which launched in 2001, had been running low on
Sorry, I'm
fuel,
understanding.
needed to maintain its correct orbit. But rather than launch a replacement internet satellite, its owner, Intelsat, hired Northrop Grumman to conduct a first-of-its-kind mission. Would you like to pick up from there?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That project sent another satellite called Mission Extension Vehicle 1, or MEV-1, to connect to IS 901 in February and take responsibility for keeping the internet satellite in the proper location to do its job. So the satellite was in a graveyard orbit. The 901 satellite was in a graveyard orbit when it met MEV-1, and once MEV-1 attached, it returned the satellite down to its geosynchronous orbit to carry on work. MEV-1 will now spend 5 years attached to IS 901 to extend that satellite's tenure. I thought that was quite nice that they're reviving satellites. That the only reason that they can't function anymore is just because they're low on the fuel needed to maintain orbit. After the contract ends, MEV-1 will steer the old satellite back to the safe graveyard orbit, detach, and join up with a different satellite to provide the same service. MEV-1 should be able to partner with satellites for a total of 15 years.
I mean, that's got to be cheaper in the long run, too.
Well, it's cheaper than, so it's cheaper than launching a new
Replacing
satellite
it,
every
yeah.
time. Yeah, just to give it at least a new life. And that's the whole point of it. And Northrop Grumman is planning to launch a second mission extension vehicle this year, which will also aid another Intelsat satellite. I thought that was quite good. And that's the first. It's the first time that a mission has been launched to revive an already working satellite, just to basically replenish the fuel.
Nice.
Isn't that lovely? I thought that was quite lovely. That's the kind of stuff I like.
Yeah. That's actually
That's the
really
one I
cool.
like.
Because imagine launching something like that on a Falcon 9. That's the dirt cheap compared to anything else.
Mm. And it will. So I'm guessing that if it's keeping IS 901 alive for years, and the MEV-1 has a total life of 15 years, then it's going to at least keep 2 other satellites going. 2 other satellites going, 3 in total.
That's really
I
awesome.
don't know.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I see it's time we need to talk about Chop and Percy then, hey?
Yes. Marty.
Oh, right, it was Marty. Sorry, it was Marty.
Well, it was a few things.
I
so
don't think we came to a name.
Going on from last week's episode, I stated that I was skeptical about a helicopter.
Last
on
month's
Mars.
episode.
Yes, and yeah, and Red said no, it's actually a thing. So I did some research, and it is absolutely a thing. Not only
I
is
was
it a
right
thing, for once. Yes.
Well, I mean, I've got to take what victories I can.
The small victories.
Yeah.
So now I've lost my train of thought.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so they've just Mars or Perseverance, Mars 2020 rover, is just in the final stages of preparation, getting ready for launch, and they recently attached the helicopter to the rover, ready for its journey. Now, I thought when I was reading this last time that it was just an idea, but no, it's actually been developed, tested, and it's attached and it's ready to go.
Yeah.
So the helicopter was fitted to the belly of the rover as final preparations began, getting the lander ready for launch. And the tests in a vacuum chamber of 1% atmosphere and 40% Earth's gravity were successful. A solar panel is fitted to the helicopter for recharging, but it will rely on the rover for power until it detaches. So this is not, and the reason I highlighted this is because we wondered if it was a once use only. Red, you're worried about it redocking. Well, you mentioned about the concern of it redocking.
The thing is, it's fragile. So unless it's protected, you're going to have trouble in the long run because the dust and all of that. One good sandstorm and it's done.
Once it's detached from the rover, it will stay independent.
But I mean, it can only do that through a certain point. Once you get a good sandstorm, it's going to be shredded.
Potentially. I'd like to think it's a bit more resilient than that. But who knows?
Well, I mean, how would it right itself?
But the winds, yes, the winds are so like a heavy wind on Mars is equivalent to an extremely light breeze on Earth.
Yes, but it's a lightweight vehicle that uses wind to lift off.
Well, I got all this facts and figures here.
So how much does it weigh?
4 pounds.
Ah. Oh, you stole my thunder.
You're welcome.
Mm.
Sorry. You take the metric. I'll take the imperial nonsense.
Okay. Yeah.
I was going to say, what's that not in freedom units?
1.8 kilos.
Okay, thank you.
So it is reasonably weighty. But obviously, Mars is only 40% gravity. 30 what it is. Okay. Yes, it's got a solar panel fitted, so it'll recharge itself. It will remain independent of the rover once it does finally detach. The helicopter should be deployed in May next year, which is roughly 2.5 months after Perseverance touches down. It is a technology demonstrator to assess whether it is viable, to test whether it is a viable method to provide better mapping and guidance to assist with traveling with travel routes planning, hazard avoidance, and identifying points of interest for the rover. And this could allow the rover to travel up to 3 times its usual distance per day.
And give us some incredible imaging as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So
I mean,
its payload...
if we can see from, even 100 meters up, that would give us so much more detail.
Yeah. Its payload will be a HD downward-facing camera, which provides 10 times the resolution of all images. So there you go. And also a sun tracking camera to assist with navigation. And they have to use sun tracking because Mars doesn't or barely has a magnetic field. So a traditional compass wouldn't do. So they come up with the idea of using the sun as sun tracking. Each flight will take no more than 3 minutes at altitudes ranging from 3 to 10 meters above the ground. And it could potentially cover a distance of up to 300 meters per flight. Don't forget, I was demonstrator though. Yeah, it's just.
Yeah, I know. I guess I misread the distance with the height when I was originally reading about it.
Well, yeah. Who knows? So I got the facts and figures here. It weighs 1.8 kilos, which is 4 pounds. Established, and has 2 twin-bladed counter-rotating propellers that are 1.2 meters in diameter.
4 feet.
Or 4 feet. Yeah. Thank you, mate.
I got you.
So it's quite sizable, actually. It's not a tiny. It's not the tiny little drone that we were talking about in the last episode. It could possibly be. This isn't that at all. It's reasonably sizable. But, right, the blades to attract. So my concern was how thin Mars' atmosphere is. It's 1% of, and to achieve lift, you've got to be doing something pretty special. The blades need to spin at 1900 to 2800 RPM to achieve lift, giving a blade tip speed of Mach 0.7.
Yikes, man. That's...
Now, just for comparison, a helicopter, generally, its blades spin at about 180 RPM. And this is going over 2000 RPM to achieve lift.
That's pretty quick.
Moral of the story is don't stick your finger in there.
Yeah, don't look at it too closely. You're going to have a bad day. Power is 220 watts from 6 Sony lithium-ion cells with a capacity of 2 amp hours, allowing 90 seconds of flight per sol. Generally, which kind of contradicts what it says earlier that each flight, but then I suppose it's all testing. So the range is 300 meters of, but with 1,000-meter radio range. So it's not going to lose sight. Speeds, horizontal speed, 10 meters per second.
33 feet per second.
And vertical speed is 3 meters per second.
9.8 feet per second.
That's pretty quick. It's pretty quick. And operational time is roughly over roughly 30 days.
You cut out there.
Operational time is roughly 5 flights over roughly 30 days. But knowing on how these missions normally go, I'd expect it to do a lot more than that, potentially.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, Waterlubber said, is that Mach in Mars? Atmo? I would probably just speculate it's Mach on Earth Atmo, just for ease of reference. Because
yeah, that would make sense considering we're measuring everything else in. I guess. I mean, speculating that's a little iffy.
Well, I'd say it was Earth atmosphere that was being measured at. I think it'd be very, very difficult to reach the speed of sound in.
Yeah, your mic keeps cutting out, by the way.
This was happening last time, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
I made a thing of it in the edit. It was the blooper, actually.
Well, it's only started just recently, today, so.
Oh, Draconite Streams actually said, as reference, my racing quadcopter with 4-inch diameter props spins its props at about 2,200 RPM.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So not out of the realm of possibilities then.
Oh, no. But I just, for a full-size helicopter, sort of,
it
goes for... Yeah.
Oh, I certainly wasn't disputing it, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well,
I thought you were disputing.
No.
So anyway, that's Marty. That's the facts and figures of. And
yeah, we lost like the second half of that sentence.
I don't know what to do.
So yeah, everybody, that's Marty. So Marty and Percy, they're getting ready for their job. Anyway, while Aki works on that, I think it's actually about time because that wraps up our history, our real space news section. Now we're moving to the history section, Red's History Corner. Mr. Panda Man, take it away.
Hello, everybody. It's Red Panda here, and we're going to talk a little bit about space stations, but not the new ones. No, we're talking about the old ones, or at least the ones other people used to think about. So we're going to go way back into the 1800s, because why not? One of the first ideas of a space station involved a brick moon, believe it or not. This was back before they had any real idea what was going on up there. And this was back when they thought ether still existed, or not ether, what do they call it? How can I forget the word for that? Phlogiston. That's back when they thought space was filled with phlogiston and that kind of thing. But the real idea of space stations started sort of coming out in the 1920s, where you had Herman Oberth and Herman. It's funny, both these guys are named Herman, but one had like two N's in his name, Herman Oberth, and then Herman Nordung. I'm probably butchering those names, who both had an idea and apparently worked together somewhat of this toroidal space station that would spin to make its own gravity. And Nordung's wheel was actually published with blueprints in 1928. And this is some of the earliest sort of practical looking space stations that actually would spin to create centrifugal force to simulate gravity and that kind of thing way back in the 1920s. And go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask, is this the same Herman Oberth that the Oberth effect is named after?
Yes, it is.
Awesome.
Yes, it is. It's a scientist who's named after. Yeah.
That's cool.
Now, that was not the last time we saw this idea of this toroidal station. And by toroidal, it's basically just a giant spinning wheel, for lack of a better term. And the first time most Americans were presented with this idea directly was on March 9th, 1955, where Wernher von Braun actually was on the Tomorrowland TV series, which was run by Disney, that had started in 1952. He had an entire episode about space where he got to present his von Braun station with diagrams to the American people on the Tomorrowland TV series. So that was kind of cool. You can still find, you do a Google search, you can find the diagrams and such that he actually had on that. And that was in the 1950s. And then we have in 1969, sort of the same time we're looking at the Apollo missions, NASA was working on the NASA space base, which was supposed to be a 100-man space station that they actually were going to schedule to be completed by 1975, using expendable boosters and that kind of thing. And in fact, they started some of the proposals and diagrams and all of that, feasibility studies, and determined that it was going to be too expensive. I mean, like way too expensive. And this is the first time you'll see NASA talk about the Space Transport System, or the STS, or the Space Shuttle, where they said if we can make relaunchable vehicles of thing, we can lower the costs to getting these things up there, so then we can build our 100-man space station, the NASA Space Base. But they still had done a lot of early work for the space station, the space base. So in 1973, to prove the viability of living in space and testing large-scale orbital constructions and such, they launched Skylab. Yay,
Good
Skylab.
times. Good old Skylab.
Good old Skylab.
The first mutiny in space.
Yes, the first, well, that we know of. There have been some rumors that
Wow.
there have been some rumors that some Russian guys got upset at various things, but
Well, if you believe all the stories about the Russian space race, then
yes,
to be honest.
yeah, I mean, the problem is as I'll talk about later, the reason I'm not covering all of the Russian things here is because basically every time someone sneezed, they had a new space station plan. And I'm not sure how many of them were just to make America think they were doing it, or how many were actually ones they were seriously considering. You know what I mean? So I'm mostly talking about things that never happened. Skylab's an exception to that. And we actually have then, I don't know how many people know about the dual Keel space station. Do you guys, anyone, you're all too young to remember that. I was actually alive, but I actually didn't remember it until I was going back and doing research. This was in January of '84. Reagan called for NASA to work with international partners to develop the dual Keel space station. You look at the diagrams of it, it's pretty cool looking. And they actually got agreement, buy-in from Japan and the EU to build this thing, but there were going to be cost overruns, and a few other things happened, including some issues with the Challenger disaster, that happened between that and the next thing, which was in July of '89. The Freedom Station was proposed with construction in the '90s, which was going to have lunar missions starting in the very first 10 years of the 21st century, and manned Mars missions going from it as soon as the late 2010s, with a permanent Mars outpost being, springboarded off of the Freedom Station. Then, obviously, none of that happened. And in the 1990s, that gave way to what we know of now as the ISS. So, it's just kind of interesting to see this progression of stations that never quite happened, but how they led into what we actually ended up with, right? So I know we're a podcast and we're an audio form here, so I can't really put up images, but if you get an interest in it, dual Keel space station looks pretty cool in my mind. Also, so does the NASA space base, which is that 100-man. Basically, imagine a long cylinder with rather than a wheel around it, it had tubes coming out, and then it would spin, and at the end of those tubes were the habitability sections. So it would create gravity, but not by an entire ring, just opposing masses around a central spinning body. And I missed something. Oh, I already jumped past one of the whole reasons that I was starting to talk about this, which was the O'Neill cylinders in the 1970s. That was actually where I was going to talk about the digging into an asteroid and all of that. Where I bopped Mater on the nose about that one for the Expanse and such. The O'Neill station idea was that you would make a giant cylinder. There were a couple of different variations. The one that got the most traction at the end that seemed most realistic is you basically make two giant cylinders with an access point in the center, and you rotate the two cylinders in opposite directions to stabilize the station. If you spin the whole station in one direction, you get a torque effect that prevents it from sitting where it should. Whereas if you spin both sides in opposite directions, you can create a thing that would relatively be stable, so you could point it at the sun in a specific direction and that kind of thing, in theory. But go ahead.
Imagine where we'd be if this stuff actually did kick off the way it was originally intended.
Well, the problem is, go on.
I'm reasonably surprised they haven't tried the artificial or the centrifugal force method of gravity.
Well, the problem with it is you need to put up some very structurally sound things to spin. And
it has to be strong. I get that. Yeah.
And every action is an equal and opposite reaction. So say you put an object on the end of the ISS and you wanted to rotate it. Fine, except now you've just spun the entire station the opposite direction.
Mm-hmm. Which is why you need the counter rotating.
Which is not good, yeah. So
it'll make orbital maneuvers a bit tricky, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly. You'd have the whole station sort of spinning around.
What have we done?
And it was not designed for that in the first place. So, but one of the ideas for the O'Neill colonies, what?
Water lover. I'm surprised they haven't just set up two capsules and a rope.
Oh. Well, actually, you laugh, but one of the proposals for sending SpaceX vehicles to Mars is you send up two of the really big things that my name elude me now.
Starship.
And you run basically run a cable between the two of them around a central point and use their lesser thrusters to counterspin them to create gravity inside the two of them. On their way to Mars. You'd send two of them to Mars that way, and you have them rotating around a central point along a cable. You couldn't go from one to the other.
Well,
no tube, just a cable.
Climb down the rope.
Well,
I'm
not sure I'd want to do that.
Don't let go.
But that would give you gravity inside each one of the objects effectively, was the idea. But one of the ideas there've been a couple ideas about how to make the O'Neill colonies. One was basically put down a mass driver on the surface of the moon and send materials you mine there up, because a mass driver on the moon is a lot easier than on Earth. So you could actually send up a lot of material. And the other idea was to take an asteroid, find an asteroid, dig into it, use high temperature mining techniques so that you fuse the surfaces as you go, and basically mine out an asteroid and then spin it.
Just like that.
Just like that. Just spin the asteroid. Once you've got it stabilized, and I mean, a lot of them spin already, so you pick the right asteroid, you do the right modifications to it, and it wouldn't take that much in theory, and plus you'd be mining it out for materials and things like that. I think the first real large space habitat that we will ever see is going to be something like that, because you wouldn't have to set up as much material, everything else you have to send up all the materials, and it'd be much easier to capture a reasonably sized asteroid and use it as your raw materials.
Been a theory for quite some time, hasn't it?
Yeah. Well, and as I said, these go back to the 1920s. So, anyway, so I got us all the way up through the ISS, but then to switch tracks here a little bit, you can go back to the 1960s for when the very first proposals for the Russians, where they had the OS, which was the Military Orbital Station, which was a study for a crew of 3 to 5 orbiting at between 350 to 400 kilometers up for military operations and reconnaissance. They were literally going to put them up there and give them cameras to look down.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, then.
So,
Okay.
as you do, as you do. So, but yeah, it was that never got the funding that it could have / should have. So, and they've, as I said, if you go and look online, the list of proposed Russian space stations is longer than the list of proposed U.S. space stations, and I have to imagine that's because some of them were just back of the napkin kind of things designed to make the United States go, "Oh, are they doing that?" So, but the other stations going on right now, China's put up 2 separate series of things, both of which have deorbited by now, I believe. I'm pretty sure on that. I was checking. And in 2021, they're sending up the core part of their new station, assuming things haven't been delayed, of the Tiangong large space station that's going to be put up in a series of 3 to 4 launches, which will be basically a competitor for the ISS that's run entirely by China.
Yeah, question. I don't know if this is contentious or not, but why aren't the Chinese allowed on the ISS?
Because we won't let them.
But why?
There's all kinds of technology limitations and such that the United States likes to impose. And
Aki, I'll get you a history book.
But the long story short is that we've tried to put on too many restrictions for them, and I'm not entirely sure. I kind of get the feeling it's mutual from what I read. That basically China wanted to be part of it, and we were like, and they're like, and we want to do this with it, and we're like, and can't we do this? And like, okay, we'll make our own. So I mean, that's kind of like, I mean, they're doing their own moon landings now. I mean, not with people, but the actual, if you look at their lunar landers, and they're on the fast track to send people to the moon again. So, I mean, they're not taking this lightly. They've got a lot of effort behind their space program. And while in a lot of ways they're still behind Russia, the United States, and Europe and Japan, certain areas they're actually doing very well. And it'll be interesting to see what happens. You have to remember, Russia never landed a person on the moon. So if China does, they'll only be the second country to do it. Oh, come on. Come on. You think that they wouldn't have bragged about it worldwide if they'd done it?
Have you seen Apollo 18?
The horror movie?
Yes.
Aki, we're not bringing back the conspiracy corner.
No,
I'm stopping
no
you there.
conspiracy.
Uh,
But you know,
you
I mean,
talk
that's
about Final Fantasy VII.
Has anyone seen Event Horizon?
Yes.
yes.
Uh,
Anyway, but I'm curious what you guys think about all this. You know, obviously, you know, I'm throwing out all this stuff about the space stations, and you know, it just sort of brings to mind an era where we thought of doing more, not less, and you know,
Well, this is
aspirational.
I suppose this is a gripe for most people, isn't it, about how much we haven't done as a
Well,
species.
if you
in
look
space.
at the lunar gateway that's being proposed,
Oh,
it's
Mork. I just got to say, Mork just brought up the Germans having their base on the moon.
oh
World
yes,
War II.
on the backside of the moon after World War II. Yes, yes.
Iron Sky.
What was the name of that
My
movie?
God.
Was it
Iron
Iron Sky?
Sky.
Was that
Iron Sky.
that was a hilarious
Ridiculous.
movie?
It's ridiculous and incredibly funny, but yeah,
Yeah, it was. Anyway,
nuts.
but you know, when you look at the proposed modules and such for the lunar gateway station, it's kind of sad to me. I mean, it's really not. I mean, it's much smaller than the ISS, and it's just sort of sad, you know.
But at least it's a thing. It's still a
Well,
thing. Is this to catapult Earth orbit?
Just-
this one, or is it just to get a base to get to and from the moon?
it's supposed to be a base that orbits the moon, and so you would go to the ISS, then from the ISS to that, and then from that to the surface,
To the surface of the moon. Yeah, okay, that one.
and then back. I mean,
'Cause
the
that-
idea is you wouldn't have one vessel that would do it all.
Yeah, yeah, and they want to man it as well.
Yeah.
I'm trying to. I have read about this. I'm just trying to recall the information. Yeah, but it's still, at least it's still something. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, the Skylab- Yeah, I mean, it's something, and I feel like we're getting to the point where the private companies are doing more than the nations are doing.
Well, I think that's true already.
I
Apart
mean,
from the
but
Soyuz launches,
well,
governments
and
aren't really doing anything else. Well, satellites, but
yeah, I mean, and with the way things are going now, I doubt there'll be much new funding anytime soon. You know,
because I always remember that one of the most disappointing things that one of the reasons the Americans didn't go to Mars after the moon was because of I can't remember the name of the space probes that were going out to Mars at the same time as the moon landings were going on. But they took some pictures of Mars, and they took the pictures in a really boring, cratered location of Mars, which made it look like an unfeasible place to go. So they stopped and didn't bother with it anymore. And
Cuts
someone's
out.
just started.
What? Huh?
he cut out completely.
yeah.
Yeah.
Someone's just started up a leaf blower outside.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Yeah. Anyway, I mean, so you know, I mean, the sad part is with everything going on, and the fact that a lot of economists say we may be facing a global depression and things like that. I'm pretty sure science is one of the areas that's going to be cut. It always is one of the first sacrificial lambs when things get tight. So you know, I don't know where we'll end up, but I can tell you that I hope we don't let things slip away. You know,
Yeah.
there's benefit in those expenditures. They tend to. I mean, the one thing that always gets me is for every dollar we spend on NASA, we get much more back. You know, to the economy.
Well,
Whereas
that's typical motor.
he's breaking up. I can't hear him at all. Can you?
Yeah, it's going now.
Completely gone.
Oh, now you're breaking in and out, Aki. I'm sorry.
I don't know what to do. I've got.
Oh, now I can hear you fine.
Okay, I've got a leaf blower going off.
Yeah.
Well, I was just saying that it's very similar to motorsport as well. A lot of the technology that's invented to improve motorsport gets put back into the car industry, and actually it's a very profitable venture, just like space travel is. Technology that's developed through those processes is very profitable. So when people say it's a waste of money, actually it's very good.
Yep.
And just as I stop speaking, the leaf blower goes off.
Well, I mean, all I can say is that there's often a lot of politics involved on which programs get approved and which ones don't. Often later, I mean, that's the real problem with NASA is you can get approval for a program, and the program takes 10 years to implement, and 5 years into the program or 6 years into the program, a new administration comes and tells you to do a different program and cuts the budget for the previous program, and now you work on the next program for 4 years, and then another administration comes and says, no, don't do that, do this. And it doesn't matter which administration it is. This isn't a party thing. It's just every time an administration changes, they've got a new priority. Those priorities have to be absorbed by the NASA space, the space agency, and that means that a lot of projects die on the floor of the conference room in ways that shouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's odd that we don't have that problem with military problems.
Okay.
Cough. Anyway.
Anyway.
Well, I'm just saying we've got some research and development projects that have been going on for 25 years that are still being funded even though the administration keeps changing.
Red, I think there's a whole nother podcast for this.
And,
I'm sure there is, and it probably isn't ours, so I'm sorry.
Space Force.
You're
Space
good.
Force are starting applicants next month.
What was there an application for NASA was doing a new thing for astronauts? I thought I saw.
I think it was the next class of astronauts, yes.
Yeah, I thought I saw something about that.
Scott Manley applied for it.
Hey, good on him.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Good on him.
That's the
Good
only
luck.
reason I knew about it.
Anyway, that's all I've got for my history corner. That's an awful lot. It's probably more than it probably should have been, but still,
Oh, that's
there you go.
fine. Filled out some good time, man. There's plenty of
more than
interesting
I
stuff.
had.
I mean, you got me to look up that double keel state. That thing looks like it belongs in Elite almost.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
I thought that too. I really thought that too. I mean, really, if you haven't seen it, you should really look it up. It's called the Dual Keel Station, and it looks cool. That's all I'm gonna say is it looks cool, and it's not. I mean, it's basically a giant truss system, square-looking thing with, but it really, with platforms and such, it really kind of made me feel like it belonged in like Elite or like one of those little small stations you see sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like the outpost.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it looked cool to me, and I don't know if I remembered it from then, but if I had forgotten about it when I was doing this research, and I was like, oh, cool. So yeah.
Well, that was a really, really interesting history corner, Red. So thanks for sharing all that.
Good, thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you. But I think that unless we have anything else to add, that's pretty much gonna do it for everything we had.
Yep.
Yeah.
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 All right. So
I
let's
think-
close it up, guys.
It's waning.
Do you have anything more to say on Final Fantasy, Digi?
Don't.
Yeah,
no, 'cause he does.
Don't worry, I'll just disconnect him.
Don't give him the opportunity. Don't do it.
All right. Well, on that note, I think this is probably going to be a good point to wrap it up for this this episode, everybody. Before we go, let's make sure when we're going to do the next episode and get it right this time.
I think it's hinging on you.
Yeah, it's hinging on you.
We're good. We're going on May 9th.
Okay.
Okay.
I think that's
On the
3
ninth.
weeks from now.
Okay.
3 weeks.
That's
Yes.
not like Mother's Day or something,
Puts
is
us
it?
back on.
Oh, it's the day before Mother's Day.
So it is.
Is that going to
Mother's
mess it
Day
up for you
on Monday.
guys?
I think that's.
I was just thinking, is
Did
that
we
why
pick
we
a bad
were gonna
weekend
do
to try and record these things?
Who knew the second Saturday of every month was so popular?
Following weekend.
Well, see, Saturday's not the problem. The problem is it's Sunday for them. So,
Yeah.
Digi, do you want it to be the following weekend?
Yes, please.
Okay,
yeah,
we'll
that's
go.
what I
I
thought.
would
Okay.
never live it down.
We'll
Yeah,
go
that's what I
on.
was afraid of.
We'll
The
go on May
16th,
16th.
May 16th. Yes.
May 16th.
Sounds
it
good.
is. Hey, that'll be our lead up to DM2. That'll be cool.
Wonderful.
Hey.
Yeah, it will be.
Yeah. All right, so with that being said, our next episode will be on May 16th, which is a Saturday, I believe. Yes, yes, yes. May 16th, Saturday, 2020. Be there, be square, we'll be here. Yeah. And I'm sure Aki will have this edited up and posted at some point in the future if his sanity
Yeah,
can...
probably, what, tomorrow or the
can
day
match.
after?
His face! The death glare we're getting.
Like, oh,
Depends how
God.
much Final
He's
Fantasy
thrown me
stuff.
under the bus again.
Well, with that, I'm going to go ahead and kick on the outro music, and we'll start the outro right about here. So, with that being said, thank you all for tuning into the Boosters and Space Tape podcast. We'll be back 1 month from now, Saturday, May 16th. Third time I'm saying it. The second Saturday of May. We'd like to thank Popsky for our commissioned intro and outro music, which you hear now, which you would have heard at the beginning if I didn't botch that. My bad. I rewired things this week. I fixed it. It's all good now. Tune in next time to find out what other issue I'm going to bring in. Who knows?
How else can we podcast badly?
Right?
We manage something every time. What else can we do to mess this all up?
But anyway, you can find all of Popsky's music at his Bandcamp, popsky.bandcamp.com. If you you can subscribe to Boosters and Space Tape on the various platforms, including iTunes, Libsyn, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. You can follow us on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook at Boosters and Space Tape. Instagram to be determined.
Still pending.
Still pending. Working on that. Shoot any questions or feedback to boostersandspacetape@gmail.com. To keep up with the live recordings, follow here on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Matoro, Matoro. I've been Matoro, as just said. Who would have thunk it? And with me, Akinesis Gaming. He's over there. Yes, over there.
Hello.
Somewhere.
DigitalPsychosis.
Ah!
I think he's alive.
Eternal screaming.
And TheReadPanda.
I love
Lovely.
this. With the mouth open and everything.
For those wondering, the
So
tiny
much
little
visual for
panda
a
was
video
waving his
podcast.
arms. Oh, that was...
There's a tongue now.
oh, no! Oh,
Merry Christmas.
no! Well, anyway, moving on.
I didn't
Moving
realise
on.
there was a tongue.
Oh, dear God.
So weirdly freaky.
Oh, no.
I think you belong in a different genre with that look.
Okay, well, anyway, thanks again, everyone. We'll catch you next time. We'll see you soon for more Kerbal, real space, and other sciencey stuff. See y'all around, guys. Please never do that again, Red. Oh my God.